What's up, YouTube land? It's been a while since I made a video. Been kind of busy, and I kind of dropped my phone and cracked it. I usually make my videos on my iPhone. Now I make them on my laptop. So hopefully I'll get a new. I mean, my phone still works, but the camera's all messed up. So hopefully I'll get a new phone soon and start making some new videos. There's a lot of albums that came out this past week that I got in the mail. I was going to review and just kind of talk about. And there's a lot of albums turning 25 this week. A lot of classic albums. Makes me feel old because I remember when some of these were brand new. And it just makes me feel like a dinosaur, ancient. But the album of the hour that I want to talk about is, of course, got my shirt on, Soundgarden Superunknown. This is one of my favorite bands. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I think every song is good. I think every song is solid. I think this is their best album. I think Bad Mood Fingers are very close second. But this is definitely my favorite. And I love the album artwork and very, very cool. I got a deluxe edition I was going to show here in a minute, and I got a thing they released in 2014 along with the deluxe edition. I got this huge deluxe edition of Superunknown. Of course, I want to keep this for nostalgia reasons, but it's got all these different. It's got the Blu-ray mix, and it's got the mix. They kind of remix it, and they have an album of B-sides from the album that's really cool. And the deluxe edition is huge. I've never seen a deluxe edition like this, and it's really cool. It was kind of pricey, but it's one of my favorite albums. I don't do that for all my albums. Of course, in the background, I'm listening to Faith No More, album of the year. This is actually a deluxe edition too. But I've been on a Faith No More kick lately. But this is a really underrated Faith No More album. But anyway, before I get into the review and just talking why I love Superunknown and Soundgarden, I was gonna show some more albums turning 25. I think this album turned 25 this week. I want to say yesterday, maybe today. And that's Pantera's Far Behind Driven. This is a classic album. You can't get wrong with this album. I think it's one of their heaviest, if not their heaviest. It's kind of a toss-up between this and the Great Southern Trendkill. This is such a cool album. Very, very cool. I remember this is the first time I heard Pantera was this album. This and Vulgar, Display of Power. And it's still one of my favorite Pantera albums. Very, very. I think my favorite is Cowboys for some reason. I don't know. This thing keeps popping up on my laptop. Sorry. But I think it's just still one of my favorites. Yeah, turned 25 makes me feel old. Another one that is turning 25 is Nine Inch Nails. I think this turned 25 last week too, along with Superunknown. Is the Downward Spiral. This is still one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails records. I kind of got off track with them. I haven't really heard a lot of their new stuff. I have the Fragile, and I have With Teeth, but I think this is still my favorite. Of course, I have Pretty Hate Machine and Broken, but this is still my favorite Nine Inch Nails record. I think this Trent Reznor's masterpiece. But it turned 25, and it makes me feel really, really old. Of course, this is the album I got, and it's falling apart. But this is the album that got me into Nine Inch Nails. Very awesome album. Of course, people still talk about it, and it's very influential. Another album that I love was still one of my favorite bands that's turning 25 is Alice in Chains, Draws or Flies. Very, very cool record, kind of a acoustic EP. I mean, there's electric guitar on here, but it's not as heavy as their other stuff they're known for. Very classic. Got some great songs on here. Nutshell, love that song. I Stay Away, it's still playing on the radio. No Excuses. The instrumental, Well and Wash. I mean, every song here is awesome. There's only 7 songs, but still a classic. Draws or Flies. Just gonna go through this list. There's a couple classic metal and rock albums turning 25. Of course, you got the self-titled debut from Korn, which I think is still their best. I still like their albums. I still buy their albums, but I think this is just their pinnacle. It just kind of blew my mind when I first heard it. It influenced a lot of bands. It influenced the whole, pretty much the new metal genre. But I mean, this is some classics on here: Blind, Clown, Shoot Some Ladders, just stuff like that. The classic album. And you got the self-titled debut. I'm sorry, not your self-titled, but the debut from Machine Head called Burn My Eyes. Another classic, kind of taking thrash, kind of the Masters of Puppets, kind of Ride the Lightning era, Metallica thrash, and mixing it with like the groove metal Pantera, and they kind of did their own thing with it, and they kind of sounded like their own entity, and it was kind of cool. At the time, Pantera was huge, and you had bands like Machine Head and Sepultura and Fear Factory coming out, and it's kind of, you had all these new metal. It was kind of a breath of fresh air, but you had bands like White Zombie, and very cool classic metal album from 1994. Of course, you got the classic Megadeth Euthanasia album. This is still one of my favorite Megadeth. It's not my favorite Megadeth record. I think they kind of added the kind of poppiness of I don't want to say poppiness, but kind of the awesome songwriting of Countdown to Extinction with the heaviness of Rust in Peace. And I think you got like this classic album, very, very cool. It's still my favorite Megadeth record. So, and of course, it's kind of debatable if this is metal or alternative rock or metal, but I think they're really heavy. And this is one of my favorite records by them. This is Helmet Betty. It's another classic. I kind of got into them through the Crow soundtrack. They had the same song that's on here that's on the Crow Milk Toast, but a little bit different. They had little sound effects, but kind of a classic kind of metal alternative rock album, and it's still influential today. I know bands still kind of copy the riffs. I know the band Silverchair kind of borrowed a lot from them, which is cool. But very, very cool record from 1994. Of course, this classic kind of stoner metal, mixing Metallica, Black Sabbath, and Leonard Skinner. You got the Corrosion of Conformity, Deliverance classic. You got Clean My Wounds, Albatross, a lot of cool jams on here. Actually, my favorite album on there is Wise Blood, or Wish Blood, or Wise Blood. But this is definitely my close second. Blind's a really good record too, if you get a chance to hear it. But classic record. Then you got some more. I don't want to use the word grunge, just like 90s bands that I love. I love this band too. The new record that came out this past year, 2018, the self-titled with of course, sadly, Scott Weiland passed away, but they got a new singer, kind of sounds a lot like Scott. But their 1994 album, Purple, I think this is a really good record, really solid. All the songs are solid. Kind of a departure from Core. Core was a little bit more heavier, and but still a great record. They got a lot of classic songs that still play on the radio, like Vaseline, Interstate Love Song. Still a solid, and Big Empty from the Crow soundtrack again. And a lot of Slayer fans loaf this album. I really like this album. This is my first Slayer album I ever bought, and that's Divine Intervention. I actually really like this album. Of course, it's not as classic as Rain and Blood or Soft Will Heaven or Seasons in the Abyss, but still very cool stuff. Then the last one, I know people probably hate this album. I just kind of got a nostalgia thing going on, so I just think keeps popping up. But I bought it really cheap at this place where I live called Second and Charles, and that's Bush's Machine Head. So I kind of popped this in every while to kind of listen to something mellow. I kind of dig it. I like this, and the next album, Razor Blade Suitcase, I thought was really good, and it's kind of like overlooked. But I got that from 1994. I mean, there's a lot of classic albums I didn't mention from 1994. You got King's X's Dogma, 311's Grassroots, a lot of soundtracks, the Demon Knight soundtrack, the Crow soundtrack, a lot of cool stuff. I don't know, I can't remember if the Airhead soundtrack came out or not, but anyway, the album of the hour, Superunknown, I was going to talk about. I was just getting into rock music when I got into this record, and it's just, I don't know, I just still think it's one of the best rockers. A lot of creativity, just a lot of stuff going on. People consider it grunge, but I don't think it sounds like anything that was out of the time. I think Chris Cornell's vocals don't sound like anybody. I think this is how they were playing. The tuning of the guitars they were playing in wasn't the same. I'll show you this deluxe edition I got. I got this in 2014, and it's cool. It kind of looks like a book, but it's kind of really, really cool. It kind of tells all about the album. It's got a bunch of pictures. Whoever did this, it's really cool. I don't know if these are just photos from like that time period. I think that is. I think that picture is kind of what it looks like inside the album, Superunknown. It just talks about the album, them recording it. It's got pictures of the band that I haven't seen before. Kind of after, Bad Motorfinger, they kind of blew up, and they weren't as big as Nirvana or Pearl Jam, but I think they were still huge, and I think this is a very, anticipated album, and of course, Bad Motorfinger was really heavy. They kind of, I want to say they kind of, it's not as heavy, because there's a lot of heavy stuff on Superunknown, but I think the songwriting and all the, the instruments, I think it's a little bit more mature than Bad Motorfinger, if I should say that. I mean, it's got some epic songs. Of course, the song everybody knows is Black Hole Sun, which is an amazing song. That's the first song I've ever heard from Soundgarden. You know, I didn't hear anything off of Bad Motorfinger, and of course, my mom and my dad, they listened to either classic rock or pop at the time. So all I heard was Madonna and Whitney Houston and Michael Bolton. That's all I knew. You know, I didn't know this kind of stuff was out. Of course, my buddies at school would come to school with like, you know, Metallica shirts and Soundgarden shirt, Nirvana. Like, what is this? What is this music? There's a picture of them in the studio. And so I just didn't really, never heard of this music. And it's kind of, when I heard it, it blew my mind. And I actually had this on tape before I had it on CD. Get to the CDs. So it's got like a whole bunch of unreleased stuff on here. Of course, I got the Superunknown. I got it in my CD case. I carry it in my car. And of course, it's got all these different rehearsals, demos, unreleased stuff. It's very cool. This kind of a bunch of unreleased stuff that's kind of, they didn't release at the time. I think they released some of it on singles. They remixed, stuff like Spoonman, stuff like that. I bought this, I think the same year, and it has kind of the glares. It's kind of some of a bunch of outtakes and different stuff. Plus, it's got the song that they put on the Avengers soundtrack. What is it called? Live to Rise. Okay. And then it's got, this is kind of originals that they didn't, like it's got She Likes Surprises. I know on my vinyl version, and actually on this version, they actually put it back on there. I think they released the album in different countries that had that song instead of Like Suicide was the last song. It was She Likes Surprises, which is a really underrated Soundgarden. It's almost like poppy, kind of a heavy metal Beatles song to me. But very cool. It got like some weird jams on here and weird instrumentals, but very cool. I'm so glad I got this. If you're a Soundgarden fan, definitely get this in the deluxe edition. Anyway, I'm going to start talking about the album. Of course, I bought it back in the day, and it was the rise of what people call grunge, bands like STP, Nirvana, of course, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, and stuff like that. But, of course, then there was bands. Metallica was still huge. I want to say hair metal was almost not around anymore, or it was on its way out. Then you had bands like Pantera and kind of new bands like Korn coming out, White Zombie. But I remember this is like one of the first tapes I ever bought. I bought it with my own money, I think, and a buddy burned it for me, and it was so long, it cut out halfway through Like Suicide. That's the last song. And if you, I don't know if you remember back in the day, like those old boom boxes, old ghetto blasters. Sorry, this thing keeps popping up. I don't know why it always pops up. Well, you had the CD would go on the top, and you can put a tape, and you could actually tape a whole CD on, you could tape a whole CD onto a tape, and it would kind of stop, and you would kind of try to catch it and turn the tape around and try to tape the other side, and every once in a while you get a tape or a CD that would, the whole CD would fit on a tape, but every once in a while a CD would be so long, the tape would run out, you can't get all the stuff, which just kind of sucked. But I think Pearl Jam's the first rock album I ever got. I think my buddy actually gave it to me. So that's my first rock record I ever heard was Pearl Jam 10. But this is actually the first album CD that I ever bought. First I had the tape. I can't remember where I bought it at. I think it was, it was summertime. I was visiting my dad in Texas. But we probably went to one of the music stores around there. That's back when they had music stores. And of course, I bought it. It was huge. Like I said, there's 15 songs in here, 16 if you can include the deluxe edition. But every song is just so solid, and every song sounds totally different. I think that's just their craft of songwriting. It's just awesome. Of course, it starts off with the "Let It Drown" song, or "Let Me Drown," which the lyrics are just kind of dark. That's the sound way. I don't know if Chris Cornell wrote this song. I know he wrote a lot. I know the whole band wrote a lot of the music. I know Chris Cornell wrote a lot of the music, but it kind of just reminds me of just a straight edge rock song. It's kind of just Soundgarden doing their thing. I think Chris Cornell's vocals really stand out. It's almost like really catchy rock song, but it just sounds so much different than anything that was out at the time, which makes it so cool. And I feel like Chris Cornell's actually singing kind of deep in the song, and then at the end, when they're soloing, he kind of goes really high in his range. But his vocals almost remind me of Jimi Hendrix, the way he's singing kind of deep. And you can tell he's like a big fan of Jimi Hendrix, and the whole band is. And it's such a cool song. It's super catchy, and this kind of rocks in the same way, and without losing their edge. That's one thing about these songs. They're catchy enough to play on the radio, but they never lose their edge. And I think that's what a lot of bands are missing nowadays. They want to write pop songs for the radio, but they always lose their edge in the mix. And I don't think Soundgarden loses their artistic integrity. But the next song is My Wave. That was one of the singles. This song is really catchy too. It's just kind of got a kind of a catchy riff. The lyrics are catchy. The video is just them playing live. Like I said, it sounds nothing like "Let Me Drown," but it still sounds like Soundgarden. I love this song. Trying to think, if you haven't heard this album, how to describe My Wave. This kind of got its own thing. It's definitely, if you're a Soundgarden fan and you heard it, I was like, oh, that's definitely Soundgarden. But kind of again, it's catchy, but they never lose their catchiness. Kind of grabs. Both songs kind of grab you. They're kind of, Let Me Drown's kind of fast paced. I think My Wave is fast paced, but it kind of slows down the record. And then a very catchy song. Just a groove song. It's kind of just grooving. I don't know what's about. Of course, the next song is "Fell on Black Days." They still play it on the radio. Kind of a more groovier, kind of dark sounding song. Kind of almost like a Black Sabbath kind of. I don't know. The riff kind of reminds me of Black Sabbath in a way, without ripping off Black Sabbath. Of course, Chris Cornell singing about dark things. What would happen to my fate? Talking about his fate. I'm not really sure what this song's about either. But it sounds like dark subject matter. Very slow pace, but still very catchy. The guitar work is awesome. All the instruments are awesome. Very instrumental. The solos by Kim Thral, I hope I'm saying his last name right, is awesome. He's an awesome guitar player. Very underrated. They had they started experimenting on this album, I think, more than Bad Motorfinger, where he has these kind of psychedelic kind of guitar riffs, kind of 60s psychedelic rock into like metal. And this made it sound so much different. It added this atmosphere to this band. I thought it was so cool. Of course, the next song, I want to feel this is about listening to the lyrics, and this is such a heavy groove on this song. This is one of the heaviest songs on the record. Is of course Mailman. I want to say this is a song about getting pushed around, getting stepped on, and you're kind of getting revenge. But the riff stays through the whole song. Kind of real heavy, kind of Sabbath groove. Almost kind of reverting back to their Bad Motorfinger, Louder Than Love days, where it's just got a heavy groove. The guitar's heavy. I think Chris Cornell's vocals really shine on this song. At the end, just the emotion in his vocals. He just he's like screaming. It's kind of a powerful song. Very cool. One of my favorites over time on this record. Of course, you got the catchy Superunknown, kind of a psychedelic riff, kind of like a classic rock riff. Very cool, very different. This just showing their talent, and very cool song. I've grown to love this song over the years. Very, very catchy. This a jam. This a jam. This kind of always remind me of a classic rock song. Very cool. My wife actually likes the Superunknown song a lot too. Of course, you got the very dark Head Down. It almost sounds like Chris Cornell's not singing on it. It sounds like somebody else is singing, but maybe he is. It's like they got this effect on his voice. Very dark song. I'm not sure what it's about. But of course, they have kind of a drum solo at the end. But this is kind of a heavy acoustic song. You can hear the acoustics up in the mix, but you can hear this heavy kind of groaning on the guitar. It's kind of mellow but heavy, and this kind of keeps the darkness of the record. Of course, the next song, the mega opus song, Black Hole Sun. That's the first Soundgarden song I've heard. That's what kind of got me into the band. Such a dark song. The video is really cool. People getting sucked up in the black hole while they're kind of playing in this field. Kind of a crazy song. I remember the producer, Michael Benhorn, asking Chris Cornell what this song's about, and he said he didn't know. He just kind of was, writing songs. And I remember, I can't remember what video I saw. I think he sent a demo to the producer, Michael Benhorn. I hope I'm saying his name right. and he's got really excited about this song. Of course, the next song is another. I think it's the first single released from Superunknown, if I'm not mistaken. It's Spoonman, and this is about a. I think this is kind of an artist, a street musician that goes around Seattle playing with spoons and stuff. And I think he's toured with like Aerosmith. And of course, Chris Cornell wrote a song about him. Pretty cool. They still play this song on the radio. Kind of a heavy down-tuned riff. Kind of reminds me of like King's X in a way. I don't know why. But of course, has a drum solo in the song, which is pretty wild to have a single and have a drum solo. And it doesn't really affect the song, doesn't slow it down in any way. I think Chris Cornell made a demo for the Singles soundtrack. I don't know if you ever seen that movie by Cameron Crowe called Singles. And I guess it didn't went on the soundtrack, and I think it ended up being a Soundgarden song. Still a really cool song. This is one of my least favorite songs on the record, this next song. I still like it over time. I've grown to like it more. And I think it's about they were going to a party when they were starting to get some popularity back when I think this is back in Louder and Love era of Soundgarden. And they are all in a limo, and I think it crashed. And I think that's about what the song's about. It's called Limo Wreck. And the lyrics are very dark. Sounds like he's singing it. Chris Cornell singing about the end of the world, just the apocalypse. And it's got a really heavy groaning riff that kind of goes through all the song. Very dark song, but still really cool. Then you got the I think this is I don't know if it's the second single or maybe a later single, The Day I Tried to Live, which I don't know what this song's about, but it makes me want to think, is it about suicide or just Chris Cornell or other members of the band having suicidal thoughts? I'm not sure. Real dark, really, for being such a dark subject matter in the lyrics. The song is kind of a little lighter, kind of a little catchier. I don't want to say the word poppy, but it's kind of a little catchier than others, what Soundgarden's known for. But one of my favorite songs on here is "Day I Try to Live." The riff just kind of brings you in. It's very, very cool. The next song, "Kickstand," it's kind of like a punk song, or what Soundgarden would do as punk. It still rocks. Of course, kickstand is probably kind of sounds like more of a racing term or something, or a motorcycle term maybe. I know the bass player Ben Shepherd. I know he races cars and rides motorcycles. Maybe that's something he wrote. And the next song, song 12 on the album, "Fresh Tendrils." Hope I'm saying that right. This kind of song's really grown on me in the years. It's got a really catchy chorus, kind of a slow moving, kind of like a weird instrumental Soundgarden song. What they're known for. Kind of they're doing the kind of psychedelic kind of riffs, and this is. I think, again, this is another song where Chris Cornell's vocals really shine through. I mean, the whole album, his vocals are top-notch. But very cool song. I think the other songs are so huge, it kind of, this song gets lost in the mix. But definitely not a bad song. Every song on here is solid to me. Of course, one of my other favorite songs, track 13 on here, the 4th of July, which I heard for years. I didn't know what it was about. I love this song. This one, I think this is one of Soundgarden's best songs. I heard it was about Chris Cornell taking acid and writing a song about it and what he saw, which kind of makes sense because he, would see colors and all this stuff. I've never done acid, but this kind of, from what I've heard and saw movies, the way Chris Cornell's singing, it's like he's singing the high note and then they recorded him singing the low. And again, it just kind of sounds different than anything else on here. It's crazy how all these songs sound totally different, but they all fit together, and this is another one of those songs like that. Very cool. I think it's one of the coolest solos on here. I don't know who did the solo, Kim Thral or Chris Cornell, but it sounds like something that would be totally classic rock solo, and it sounds and it's still refreshing. It didn't sound like a retread of or he's ripping off on it. It's such a cool solo. I'll have to learn on the guitar one day. This is probably one of my least favorite songs on here, track 14. I think Kim Thral, the guitar player, is singing it, and it's got this weird kind of psychedelic kind of almost sounds like almost like Indian music. I want to say, and not saying that in a offending way. It's got that kind of Eastern kind of weird kind of sound, but it's kind of cool. It kind of goes with the rest of the album. It's kind of short. Really different than anything on here. It's kind of cool to have all these heavy songs and have that song. Very cool. I think this is like my favorite track on here. It's kind of track 15. It's kind of ironic, it's called like Suicide, and then Chris Cornell, what happened with Chris Cornell? I don't know if he's writing about him being depressed or I don't know, but this is like one of my favorite songs on this record. I love how it starts and this how it ends all heavy, and it's a good way to kind of end the record. And I don't know if it's kind of the lyrics are ironic or they're meant to just be how he was feeling. I hope not. I hope that's not what he was feeling. But this is one of my favorite songs on here. And I just one of my favorite Soundgarden songs. I just love how it just kind of slowly builds and this kind of like it explodes at the end, and that's just the end of the record. And very very cool way to end the record. I always love that song. But like I said, Soundgarden Superunknown turned 25 last week, and then I can't believe it makes me feel old. But still one of my favorite records, one of my favorite bands. Chris Cornell's one of my favorite singers. I hate that he passed away, but of course I'm sure his music will live on. This amazing musician, everybody in the band is amazing. Of course Matt, the drummer, I think he's still with Pearl Jam. Kim Thorell, I don't know what he's doing. But this everybody in the band. Ben Shepherd's awesome. And they all write in Soundgarden. So I think this is their best record. Like I said, I think Bad Motorfinger's a close second. But still, my favorite, one of my favorite albums of all time. One of my favorite records. Very, very cool stuff. And I can't say enough about this record. Got me into rock, got me into metal. Every record I buy, I compare it to this record, and I know that's not fair, but that's what I kind of come to realize not everybody can be Soundgarden or write music like. But 1994 was a good year for music, I think. My people don't think so, but I do. I think this is a strong record. Just kind of showing their songwriting chops, and this kind of I think this band was coming in their own, coming off the huge Bad Motorfinger. I think they were just writing some amazing songs at the time. Of course, the next album, Down the Upside, would be their last for a long time, till 2012's King Animal. And of course, every album that that came out by them, I compared it to this. When I first got Down the Upside, I was really disappointed because it wasn't this. And I know bands can't just do the same thing. Same with King Animal, I was like, well, they've been gone for I don't know how many years at the time, and I was like, King Animal's got to be awesome. But I still liked it. I still like Down the Upside, but it just wasn't this. But yeah, I was gonna do some more reviews. I got a lot of albums in the mail I was gonna review. I was gonna review some other albums from 1994. I was gonna review Farmhand Driven and just talk about it. That and Downward Spiral. But yeah, that's my favorite album of all time. And it's still good. It never gets old. Songwriting is amazing to me, my opinion. But cool. Well, cheers. You guys have a good one.